This video is brought to you by StatHead from the creators of Pro Football Reference. I absolutely love this product and I use it religiously to do research for a ton of my videos, and have for quite some time. StatHead is the best database out there and gives you just about anything you could ever have hoped to research. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to use. Kirk Cousins was incredible last night, throwing for 509 yards. I want to see how that compares to other quarterbacks in Falcons history to see if that was the franchise record for most passing yards, and if so, what the previous records look like. So I went to the player game finder, sorted by passing yards, filtered to just include the Falcons, and just like that, we can see that Kirk Cousins' game was the top total, breaking Matt Ryan's record of 503 yards in a 2016 game against the Panthers. Oddly enough, every quarterback to throw for over 400 yards did so in the 21st century, except for Steve Bartkowski in a 1981 game against the Steelers. So I just click on that box score, and I can learn more about the game right there. This is not sped up or altered in any way whatsoever. It is that quick and that easy. It's only $9 a month for football, or $16 a month for every sport. But if you use my code JG9 at checkout for an annual subscription, not only does it help the channel out a ton, but you get a 20% discount. Link in the description below. So go to stathead.com and sign up today. Yep, that's right. 2 episodes of dumb decisions from the same exact game. This game truly had everything, from insanely high quality football, to a ton of points, to a thrilling finish, to some idiotic coaching on both sides. I already broke down what Todd Bowles did earlier today when he challenged a play for absolutely no reason whatsoever, considering the fact that the play was obvious, and that even if the challenge was successful, the Falcons, not his Bucs, would have benefited from it. You can learn more about that decision by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But Bowles was not the only one to screw up. Far from it. Because on the opposite sideline, we have Raheem Morris, who, much like Todd Bowles, found a way to screw up in the first half. And while both of these coaches screwed up, you don't have to screw up. You can make a great decision right now by hitting that like button down below, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. We post every single day about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL, so if you like that sort of stuff, then this is the place for you. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. I'm not going to break down the context of the game since I did that in the last video, and I'd just be repeating myself. However, by this point, the Falcons are faced with 3rd and 18 at the 38-yard line in Tampa territory. It'd be somewhere in the ballpark of a 56-yard field goal for Younghoe Koo, one of the best kickers in football, if the Falcons got no yardage here. Sure enough, after Kirk Cousins throws an equally pass that is a bit too far away from Darnell Mooney, the Falcons have 4th and 18 with 19 seconds left. Alright, that stinks, but down 24-17, you have a chance to cut into a 4-point game before the half with your super reliable kicker, who is kicking this ball in a climate-controlled stadium with no wind or elements to speak of. Well within his range, and a kick that he's made 10,000 times before, and oh my god, you're punting the football!
Johnson is back to receive, what figures to be a pooch punt, backspin put on it.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris. I swear that the Falcons are trying to give their fans heart attacks this year, because every single game they played this season has been close. The last 4 weeks of games might be the craziest 4-week stretch of games by any team ever in terms of how insane the games themselves have been and how they've all come down to basically the final play. And on one hand, Raheem Morris is doing a good job in those clutch situations, as there's a reason why the Falcons find themselves in first place in the NFC South. On the other hand, his in-game management skills have been appalling at times, from his questionable timeout management in Week 3 against the Kansas City Chiefs, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, to this. The decision to not take 3 points didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense at the time, and doesn't make any sense afterwards, even though the Falcons ended up winning the game. So with that being said, let's take a look at why trying a punt instead of attempting a 56-yard field goal when you've got a kicker who can hit from that distance is a really bad idea. And I want to make it extremely clear that this is not an absolute situation by any means. If, let's say, you're up by 2 points, and there's 10 seconds left in the game, and you have a chance to try a 56-yard field goal, there is no way in the world I'm attempting that. Because if I make it, the other team can return the kickoff the other way for a touchdown. And if I miss it, the opposing team has time for a play to get to field goal range. It depends on the weather, and the kicker, and the score, and a whole bunch of other factors. So let's get that out of the way right now. Punting instead of trying a 56-yard field goal in a vacuum is not inherently stupid. But the decision that the Falcons made here, down by 7 points at the end of the first half? Yeah, I don't get it at all. Because let's break down the pros and cons of trying the field goal versus punting the ball. If you kick the field goal and you make it, the good news is that you find yourself down by 4 points. It's never good to be down, obviously, but at the very least, you cut into the deficit. The name of the game is to score more points than your opponent. And seeing as you can score points off of a field goal, but can't score points off of a punt, that's one way to look at this situation. However, let's say you miss the kick. Let's say the Younghoe Koo misses this field goal and it goes wide left or something like that. Obviously, that stinks, and you're still down by 7 points. But do the Bucs really have time to do anything? Tampa will be getting the ball back at their own 45-yard line. Their kicker, Chase McLaughlin, has been in the league for a bit now, and while he's good, he's never made a kick longer than 57 yards in his career. He's got a good, accurate leg, but he's not in that Jake Bates or Brandon Aubrey tier of kickers where everything beyond midfield is something you contemplate trying. Even if we say that the Bucs give him a shot if he's within 60 yards, the Buccaneers would only have about 13 seconds left to get into range. They'd have time for 1, maybe 2 plays depending on how much time they take up on the first play to get a fair amount of yards. Not an unreasonable amount of yards by any means, but a fair amount of yards nonetheless. They need a first down at minimum. What I'm getting at is that even if you miss the field goal, the odds are pretty slim that the Buccaneers do something with it. You don't want to be down 2 scores at the half, but odds are you won't be. This is one of those times where even though there is risk, as I don't want to say there's nothing to lose by trying the field goal here, the risk is pretty minimal compared to the reward of getting 3 points. If Koo misses the kick, a lot has to go wrong for you to find yourself down by 2 scores at the halftime break. However, if you punt the ball, there is no chance to cut into the deficit. Sure, there's no chance for the Buccaneers to extend their lead, but seeing as you need to get points however you can, seeing as you're the trailing team, the Bucs are more than fine with that. You're playing right into their hands. And better yet, if you knew that you were going to punt the ball on 4th and 18 if you didn't get any yardage, then why not call a running play? You're not going to lose yards on the ground by giving it to Bijan Robinson. You can get some yardage on 3rd down and try the field goal. And maybe the Buccaneers are stupid with their timeouts like the 49ers were last week in their game, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, and they don't call one, giving you the final play of the half and a way easier field goal. The strategy here was just baffling. If you got no yardage, you weren't going to try the field goal, even though it was well within range and wouldn't involve too much risk. So you decide to call a play on 3rd down, where there is a very high chance that you will get no yardage, thereby sabotaging your chance of getting points? How does that make sense? But okay, maybe the Falcons didn't trust their kicker. It's not like their kicker is good from 50-plus yards out. It's not like Younghoe Koo made his last kick, entered this game 9 for 9, and was 10 for 11 on the season thus far, and 11 for 12 dating back to the end of last season. Oh wait, it's not like since the middle of the 2022 season, Younghoe Koo had only missed 3 field goals inside this climate-controlled stadium where elements are not a factor. Oh wait, and it's not like Koo can hit from long distance. I mean, the last time he hit a kick from this far out was, let me check my notes. Oh yeah, 5 days ago! Remember the game winner against the Saints? He drilled that. It wasn't even close in terms of distance. That thing was well over the crossbar by the time it got over. A 58-yard kick against the Saints? Perfectly fine. A 56-yard kick here in the same stadium? Too far. Not worth it. Because that logic makes sense. If Cairo Santos was your kicker, or your kicker was struggling as of late, fine. I get it. Makes the 3rd down play call a bit confusing, but I get the idea of punting. But with Koo as your kicker, after everything he has shown you this season, and in his career, there is no logic on that one. You bypass 3 points with a kicker that could easily get those 3 points. It's not as though this kick is asking the world of coup. It's not as though this is a 61-yard field goal or something along those lines. This is a 56-yarder when he drilled one from a further distance a few days ago and when he's hit many kicks from 55-plus yards in his career. This was a good chance at 3 points, and you completely wasted it. And after the game, a reporter actually asked Raheem Morris about the decision to punt the ball in that spot instead of trying the long field goal. I have to give the reporter credit. Usually with these dumb decisions episodes where the play doesn't directly decide the outcome of the game, you never see a reporter ask that question. But we actually got someone question Morris about the decision at the end of the first half to punt it away instead of trying the field goal. And this is what Morris had to say. I kid you not, this is what Morris had to say. Take a listen.
How difficult was the decision on the punt not to go for when you gave him the ball back, was that an iffy call at all, or because of the distance, was that a no-brainer for you?
You know, they're all iffy, you know what I mean? But it was a difficult decision, but it was made by us. It was made together, and obviously it was the right choice.
That was the biggest nothing burger of an answer I've ever seen. There was no rationale, there was no thought process, and there was no logic behind it. It essentially boiled down to, it obviously was the right call because we won the game. But let me ask you something, Coach Morris. Was it obviously the right call? Was it obviously the right call to bypass 3 points? Because if, on the final offensive play of the fourth, Kirk Cousins doesn't spike that ball with 1 second on the clock, and you don't get the field goal team out there, you lose the game by 3 points. And man, would those 3 points have come in handy. Or if the Buccaneers don't get called for holding on their final drive, they are going to be up by 6 points instead of 3. And that difference in the field goal versus getting a touchdown on the final drive would have come in handy. It would have made a lot. Newsflash, just because something works out doesn't mean it was obviously the right call. If I make a decision on a multiple choice test where there's no penalty for guessing wrong, to leave one of the questions blank and not circle anything, and I pass the test and get the grade that I want, it doesn't mean that skipping the question was obviously the right call. If the final play of the Bengals 49ers game from 1987, in a game that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner, was a pass by the Niners that fell incomplete, it doesn't mean that the Bengals going for it with a run up the middle and 6 seconds left in your own territory was obviously the right call. That's flawed logic. That's the kind of logic that will get you absolutely nowhere. That's the kind of logic that will screw you over. You bypassed a chance at points for some reason because it ended up working out in the end, even though you didn't know that it wouldn't ultimately matter until 2 hours later? Yeah, that makes no sense at all. You can't see the future, so stop trying to pretend that you can. And like I said before, when it comes to the game involving these two teams behind me right here, there are times where you can send Koo out to try a 56-yard field goal, and it would be a dumb decision. Again, it is not absolute. There are some moments where trying a 56-yard field goal is not the smartest idea, even if you have faith in your kicker to make it, and even if your kicker has made that kick in the past. Having said that, this was not the time to punt the ball. No way whatsoever was this the time to punt the ball. Hyung-Wei, more like no way, as in, no way you're actually punting the ball here down by 7 for no reason whatsoever. So what do we learn from all this? If you have two options, and one option gives you a realistic chance at points with minimal risk attached to it, while the other option doesn't give you any points, then take the first option, especially if you're losing and need to get points to catch up. If you're losing a game, the other team can't have points subtracted from their total. The only way to win is to get some points of your own. And if you bypass a good opportunity for them when it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to do so, then I'm not sure what the game plan is. If you think you're too far for a field goal, then maybe don't call plays that ensure the fact that you won't be kicking a field goal in the highly likely probability that you get no yardage. If you don't trust your kicker, even though your kicker has proven himself time and time again in these spots, and in much harder spots, I should say, then maybe you should reevaluate things. And just because you win the game in the end, doesn't mean that your decision automatically worked. You can still make a dumb decision in a winning effort, and can still be stupid in success. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.